Welcome back to another Satisfactory build. My name is Bald Zebra, and if you're here, we're checking out steel and aluminum today. Now, honestly, it was a huge challenge to do aluminum. Steel's pretty much the same as iron and copper, but aluminum is a freaking puzzle and a half. This is my first build in Satisfactory, so we're recording as we go, and I hope you enjoy the steel and aluminum factory. They are complicated. Alright, so last time I had not tackled trains, so that's why you see this big square box on the outside. Again, we like circles, so this is the steel factory, big circle factory with a train selection on the backside. That's just so the trains can pick up all the materials and bring it to the main factory, which we will tease for you later. So if we dive right into the center eye here, you get to see the bottom input where the coal and the iron come up, and then they split, where half of the materials, or one whole stack coming from one resource at 1200 resources a second, goes into here for iron and goes into here for coal. So this is a relatively small factory because there's only two things being made here. So the bottom part of the factory is pretty simple because all we need to do is split two different lines, one of them for steel pipes and one of them for steel beams. So the bottom line is all the foundries producing all the iron and all the coal, producing all the steel ingots, which are drawn out the outside, because I thought I'd do something a little different this time. So the ingots go outside here, and they're delivered to two different sections. One section is steel pipes, one section is steel beams. So if we dive back inside, the difference that I like on this factory, since it is a circle, half the resources come out in one direction, half the resources come out in the other direction. They all funnel back around to this centerpiece, and then they're funneled up together, bring them out towards the trains. Same thing happens with the steel pipes. Steel pipes are all funneled through a system where half of them go in this way, half of them go that way. The math for me is always something I like. We have one line of 1200, 1200 making steel pipe, and one line of 1200, 1200 making steel beams. That gives us 24 constructors making steel beams, giving us 360 steel beams a minute. We have 36 constructors making steel pipes. At 40 a minute, that gives us 1440 steel pipes a minute. But one thing I really like about the circle factories is infinitely stackable. If I want to just add another layer and just keep stacking it over and over and over, I can keep getting the same kind of efficiency, and I can keep everything in a relatively small circle section that looks really nice. Meanwhile, onward and upward to aluminum. So even though we have a lot of factories going on, I think the aluminum is one of my favorite. Mostly because of how complicated it is, because it is. Aluminum is a pain in the butt to balance, and it looks really complicated to me, even after I finished it, and I'm the one that designed it. So please enjoy the explanation. Alright, first things first. What are we doing? We're setting up aluminum. Aluminum has aluminum sheets and aluminum casing, so there's only two things, again, being made at this factory. It still looks like a mess, but it looks like a very complicated, cool mess. To me, it looks like the inside of a watch. Let's start off with bottom to top explanation. Almost died there. So aluminum works off bauxite and works off coal. Kind of the same deal to steel. So sloppy alumina is the recipe. It takes 200 bauxite per minute. It also takes 200 water per minute. It produces 240 alumina solution per minute. Bauxite goes in, and we're dealing with sloppy alumina, as in I'm using an alternate recipe for aluminum so I don't have the same byproducts. The alumina solution is then pumped out and into the next refinery. That refinery does 240 alumina per minute, which is the exact ratio we need from sloppy alumina, and needs 120 coal. 120 coal is an easy ratio to do because I just did the same kind of ratio for the bauxite. I just made sure I had extra coal going to it. And speaking of that 200 water input needed, I essentially split up my factory into 6 different sections as you look around. Each different section has 2 refineries, so they are the ones dealing with the aluminum, or the aluminum process, along with all the added stuff to it. So you can see one here, one here, one here, one here. Easy to follow because of the water pipes up top, which is what I'm talking about now, the water. So I have 6 different ones, each one needing 200 input of water, meaning I need 1200 input of water, which is not terribly hard to do, because you can maximum put 600 inputs of water through one max pipe, pipe level 2. So I have 600 going to half of it and 600 going to the other half. Since I need 600 for half of those factories, and I have 2 stacks of those factories, half of them dealing with aluminum casings and half of them dealing with aluminum sheets, I need 4 pipes. And I bring the water to the middle of the factory in order to split it up the way I want up here. way above the rest. That way when it goes down, I don't have to worry about head lift at all. Which is also the reason you see me without a beard right now, because I finished all the recording and editing I thought I needed to do for the video, and then I looked back and realized I had not explained any of my water needs. So let us know in the comments which zebra you like more, shaved or unshaved. It's up to you. So out of this, it produces 120 water and 360 alumina scrap per minute. The alumina scrap goes over here and is split into foundries. If we're producing 360 alumina scrap per minute, that needs to go into different foundries at 90 per minute. 360 is easily split into 90 4 times. That still leaves the water. The water is pumped down here on the outside and joins a network which is connected to limestone. Limestone uses limestone and water to produce concrete. So we're using wet concrete to output all of the water from the alumina solution. So even though it produces a little bit more water, that's our resource to get rid of that. Most of that is used just for production, but a lot of it goes to the awesome sink. Which means I don't mind if the limestone ever gets backed up down here, because if the limestone is backed up, it's producing more than enough limestone to get rid of all the water immediately. That's the goal. Now, bring you back up here. If we're at the foundry needs 90 aluminum scrap per minute, which we said 4 out of 360, easily done, but it also needs 75 silica, which is where it gets complicated. Now I need to input silica. So, input silica. So this is where the quartz line comes in. Quartz line is right up above the other two. There's the coal, there's the bauxite. Quartz line goes in and it splits itself. So each machine needs 75 silica a minute. So what I had to do is I did 6 different machines producing silica. Each machine only produces 37.5. So we've overclocked 2 machines out of these in order to produce enough silica, in order to produce enough scrap so we can keep our aluminum going. I have the same exact setup for the top level. One of them is producing aluminum sheets, and the other one is producing aluminum casings. So just another wrinkle aluminum gives for you. Aluminum sheets, you need copper for. So, found a copper, made sure I had plenty of copper, popped it up through the center of everything else. And since we have aluminum casings being produced down here, we have aluminum sheets being produced up here, we just set a copper factory on top of each aluminum factory in order to get the copper necessary for the aluminum all-clad sheets. Onward. If you think of each one of these sections as its own factory, this is one factory, this is one factory, this is one factory. So this factory is fed into 8 assemblers. The aluminum ingots come up here, they're fed into here. They use the copper up top to turn into all-clad sheets. Each factory requires 30 aluminum per minute, 10 copper per minute, which I'm way overproducing, and it produces 30 per minute. So if we have 6 different sections, each one has 8 factories, and each factory is producing 30 a minute. That's 1,440 all-clad aluminum sheets going out, which is why we have the output split into 2. To be honest, this is my favorite factory though. It's so complicated and it works really well. It hasn't stopped since I've started. And while I don't have the greatest transition into the train yet, we'll get there. We're still building the train and we're still building the mega factory. So as we know, we have all copper done, all iron done, all caterium done, all aluminum done, all steel done, and it's all being sent to one factory which is going to produce pretty much everything. Next time we'll show you what powers all this monstrosity, and we'll get you a good sneak peek of the extreme monstrosity. Ow. Thank you all for joining me. I do everything built live on Twitch, and this is the first time I've recorded the journey of going through all these big factories. So join me for Satisfactory and join me for all the survival crafting games that you see, because I'm going to hit them all up. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful night.